In the next few minutes, I'm going to be walking you through 3 storytelling techniques used by creative strategists that help you articulate your data and your ideas in a much better manner. These frameworks are structured communication tools. They're used to craft clear, persuasive, and strategic messages that help leaders, consultants, and communicators in general engage their audiences better and help them make decisions faster. Our first framework is called the SCQA Framework, famously used by consultants at McKinsey. So let's break it down. SCQA stands for Situation, Complication, Question, and Answer. Start your presentation by stating the current situation. Provide us with context by showing us where you are now. Follow that by introducing your complication. Describe the struggle that you've been facing. Is your project having trouble meeting your sales targets? Maybe you're noticing a skill gap in your team. What's the problem you're trying to solve? Now for the question, we start framing the challenge to pique curiosity. Use this step to set up your answer or solution by asking the right strategic questions. And finally, you deliver the resolution to your complication by answering the question you posed earlier. Here's an example using the SCQA method to deliver a short idea.
The respondents today are more optimistic about AI than they were 5 years ago. That's the situation. They're setting the scene. But that level of excitement varies, and there's some deep-seated concerns. Complication. You can usually recognize the complication when you see the words but or however. What can be done to address these gaps? The question. And the rest of the presentation is dedicated to answering that question, culminating in a final slide with 3 key recommendations, 1, 2, and 3.
One of our favorite presenters at Prezlab is Simon Sinek. So it would only make sense for us to integrate his golden circle method into many presentations. I'm sure you're familiar with his saying, always start with why. And we can see that in the golden circle with why being at the very core. After all, if you don't know why you're presenting, then what's the point at all? After finding your why, you need to describe your approach or methodology, maybe a unique perspective that helps you get there. And that's your how. How do you achieve your purpose? And finally, what? As in, what's your solution? This is the product or service that you're actually delivering. You know, the tangible outcome of your presentation. Let's walk through an example of using this framework. And this time we can use the example provided by Simon Sinek himself.
Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer from me? All I did was reverse the order of the information. People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
And the third framework we're discussing is one you may not be as familiar with. Let's talk about Monroe's motivated principle. Now, this principle is split over 5 parts: attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. You start with attention. This is your hook. You need to capture focus and emotionally engage your audience. You can use stories, statistics, dramatic visuals, anything that will really get them to listen. Then we move on to need. Here, you highlight a pressing problem and tell your audience why they need to listen. Build urgency by showing your audience how this problem affects them. After that, we go to satisfaction. In this phase, you relieve the tension by showing the audience what needs to be done and how, giving them, as the name suggests, a sense of satisfaction. Describe your solution and how it works. Show evidence of success. Now, it's time for visualization. Here, it's important for your audience to visualize the impact of your proposed solution, both good and bad. Walk them through real-life scenarios to make sure they're as immersed as possible. And finally, to tie it all together, make sure you wrap up with action. Tell the audience what comes next and what's needed from their end to make this work. Let's go through a story that was structured using Monroe's motivated principle.
And just imagine you're going to ultimately try to sell your listeners a mattress. Well, there are some steps that you need to follow before you ask for that sale. The first thing you want to do is grab their attention by talking about statistics involving sleep. Next, you're going to convince them that they have a particular need by talking about the effects that a lack of sleep has on their mood, their health, and their effectiveness at work. You're showing them that they have a need for better sleep. And now you get to your pitch. You help them satisfy this need by showing them this new type of mattress, let's say, that you are selling, that you want them to buy. And then you get them to picture what life would be like with this mattress through photos, through stories. And once you do that, some of them will be ready to take an action. This is where you make some kind of call to action, have them text a number, have them fill out a form, have them supply their email.
But no matter what framework you use, you'll notice that a lot of them have common themes, chief among which is knowing what problem you're trying to solve and the proposed solution. These are 3 of many different frameworks that help you structure your story better. Sometimes you can mix and match frameworks, and other times you don't have to stick to any of them really. The idea is to create a solid train of thought that your audience can follow from beginning to end. Be sure to hit the first link in the description to learn more about storytelling frameworks.